Now, our next speaker, Dr. Jattu Senesie, is a board-certified obstetrician and gynecologist from right here in the Washington, D.C. area. Interestingly enough, in 2010, she left a successful 6-year private practice to find a better balance between her own career in health and her own health. She now has started her own wellness organization called Essence of Strength, through which her particular passion is helping sisters who have spent years building credentials and getting degrees, but are still unsatisfied with their lives, or as she says, the overqualified and undersatisfied. So here today to tell us about her organization, Essence of Strength, and help us all find our own essence of strength through our fearless ideas, Dr. Jattu Senesie.
Would you like to know an untrue story? Some might even call it a bold-faced lie that a lot of us believe. Here's what it is. Getting to a sense of personal well-being naturally follows from doing all the right things in the right ways. That's not true. I'm sorry if I'm the first person to tell you this, but that's not true. Today I'm going to talk with you about how I learned that story is a myth, what I learned actually is the key to personal wellness, and how you can start incorporating that essential component into your life today. Academic achievement and professional success are supposed to lead directly to that happy, healthy, satisfied life we associate with being well. That's the story I believed. Be the perpetual honor roll student through grade school. Graduate magna cum laude from the proper major for your intended career. From there, go on to a well-respected professional or graduate school, and then pass all of your certification exams without any difficulty. Now you are ready to embark on that satisfying and fulfilling life of changing the world. Along the way, you might have learned to function without adequate sleep, or food, or showers. But that can't possibly be as important as doing good things for other people, right? You're doing everything well, so you must also be well. Here's the thing. I lived that exact overachieving do-gooder story, and it did not automatically bring me that sense of well-being. It looks good on paper, but it doesn't guarantee that complete sense of physical, mental, and social well-being that we associate with good health and wellness. But there's good news. We're just going to skip that. There's good news. You have the power to write your own wellness story. Here's the thing. It's going to take a little reprogramming, though. Once you've been in school for a really long time, you get very good at living up to other people's standards. You write papers based on guidelines given to you by a professor. You take tests based on information outlined in a syllabus. Your professor gives you feedback. You rearrange your behavior appropriately. You adjust your story to somebody else's script. That's kind of what school is all about. A lot of times, it's not until formal education is over that we recognize we've been living someone else's story. All of a sudden, we have to take over authorship of our own lives. And I will tell you, I personally was not ready. When I entered private practice as an OBGYN, I had given no thought to crafting my own wellness story. I figured I had been doing everything the way I was supposed to, so how could I possibly not be thriving in all the aspects of wellness? And from the outside, that's what looked like was happening. I mean, tell me if this doesn't sound like the perfect wellness narrative to you. I was a physician helping people get and stay healthy. Intellectual stimulation and service. I volunteered in my church's hospitality ministry. More service and some spirituality in there to boot. I exercised on a regular basis. I ran 5Ks. I participated in recreational sports leagues. My colleagues used to make fun of me because they said I ate vats of salad. My whole fitness and nutrition game was pretty much on point. I even managed to avoid becoming that dreaded, grumpy doctor, even though I worked really long hours and was often awakened in the middle of the night. I maintained my social skills. Even though I was kind of the poster child for health and wellness, I knew deep down inside that my life wasn't bringing me that sense of personal well-being that I desired. That's when I started hearing this voice in my head saying, "You have the power to write your own wellness story." What that little voice failed to tell me was how exactly does one do that? People always say, follow your passion, do something that serves the greater good. Well, by my estimation, that's what I had been doing ever since at 12 years old I decided I wanted to be a doctor. That's the path that took me from being that nerdy STEM student with a love of service to becoming this dissatisfied doctor. Clearly, there was something more to this whole wellness thing than just being passionate and helpful. Well, I didn't immediately get that full message. I thought I just needed to be passionate and helpful in a less intense way. So I quit my job as a doctor. I started volunteering in public health and working as a personal trainer. I was like, I'm still serving the community, promoting health and wellness, and using my decades of education. The problem was, I was still living someone else's story. I picked that path out of medicine because it seemed to make sense based on what I'd seen other people in similar situations do. My spirit was still telling me, you have the power to write your own wellness story. As a matter of fact, it wasn't until I became a stressed out, exhausted personal trainer who didn't have enough time to exercise myself that it crystallized for me what was missing from my wellness story: self-care. Self-care is essential to personal wellness, especially for those of us who are passionate helpers. Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." That quote is the key to self-care and wellness. Self-care is not about being self-indulgent and oblivious to the needs of others. It's about knowing yourself well enough to recognize what you need to maintain the sense of well-being to take care of others. It's about asking yourself the right questions to create an awareness of when you've lost that sense of well-being. Despite having spent over a decade working in healthcare, I recognized that for myself, I needed some outside help to get my wellness story intact. I ended up hiring a life coach to help me put some strategies in place to keep from winding up back in that burnout zone over and over and over again. Once I had my self-care epiphany, though, I made it my mission to share it with as many people as possible. And the 5 things that I learned I'd like to share with you today: see, seek, seize, strategize, and sustain. See what is true about your current situation. Don't get caught up in someone else's story. Seek what it is you really want from your situation. Be honest with yourself about your true intentions. Seize onto your unique values and motivators that make you who you are. It's not about who you want to be or it's not about what you want to do. It's about who you want to be in every facet of your life. Don't get caught up doing things that are generally useful but aren't really personally purposeful. Strategize ways to achieve those intentions that are aligned with your unique values and motivators. And lastly, sustain that sense of living on purpose by putting processes in place that help you get through those first 4 steps more easily every time. All right, now we're going to use a trivial example to put that into practice right now. I'm going to invite everyone to hold your hands up. Take a look at your hands. Specifically, take a look at your fingernails. What do you see? Are they short? Are they long? Are they bitten? Are they polished? I know for me personally, I like my nails to be short enough to type, long enough to scrape and scratch if I need to, and I like them to look generally presentable. My main values and motivators are peacefulness and a challenge. So when I think, okay, how do I get presentable short nails with peace and challenge, I trim my nails and file them every couple of weeks, and I polish them for special occasions. Some of you nail biters might have some other strategies you need to put into place. In order to sustain that, I just remind myself, short, unpolished nails are most compatible with how I want to be. All right, let's up-level the example for those of you who are in the middle of final exams. Let's say you've got 3 exams over the course of 2 days next week. You have to get through all that material over the next 7 days. I know for me personally, sitting in one place for multiple hours at a time is really difficult for me to concentrate. So if I was in that situation, I would say, okay, I need to get through this material in a way where I can have the state of mind to recall what I've studied. Now, we know from the last example, peacefulness and challenge are most important to me. So what I would do to challenge myself is make a study schedule where I have to study for multiple hours, because that's a lot of information to get through. However, to maintain the peace, I would give myself multiple time-limited study breaks. I've got the peace, I've got the challenge. And in order to sustain that, I'd have to make my overall schedule such that I have time to do both of those things. That allows for self-care and for achievement. I share those examples with you to let you know that self-care is an important part of a life well lived. I'm a doctor, I'm a personal trainer. I totally respect achievement and all the credentials that are associated with that. I love being of service. I am totally about eating broccoli and exercising 30 minutes a day in terms of wellness. But from my personal experience, I know there's more to it than that. In order for you to make the impact that you want to make in your world, you have to learn to develop the self-care habits necessary to maintain your sense of well-being. You have the power to write your wellness story. Thank you.